How's it going, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the new upcoming album from the band Tragedian. The name of this album is Master of Illusions, but y'all know it by now. Before I get into that nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at this cover, man. Oh, I dig it. I dig it. It looks old school and classic. The colors, I really like the blues and the purples. It just is really, really nice. You got this like wizard dude there in the middle of these stained glass windows. In the background, this kind of crystal ball up there in the front with a skull in it, and just all this smoke, this kind of purple and blue like smoke or energy, and it's going up to this like blue, almost like electric kind of looking energy, and you see lightning almost going there. Just looks really, really, really neat. I like it a lot. Even the way the band's name is stylized up at the top, Tragedian, and then Master of Illusions down there at the bottom. It just, there's a lot going on, but it focuses your attention in on it. Again, I think that's good, with the colors and this and that, and then like the wizard's face kind of there in the middle, just draws you in, and it just looks really, really neat. Again, and it has this really classic kind of old school looking vibe to it, which also kind of catches the attention. I feel like people would look at this and be like, oh wow, and look at the back and say, oh, released 2023. Neat. It looks like something you could pick up is from like the 80s, some heavy metal or something like that. But yeah, I love the cover. It looks awesome. And as far as does it convey, the style of music contained on the album, oh, I think so, without a doubt. Without a doubt. If you never heard of this band before, you pick up the CD at the CD shop because you're like, this looks neat. I think you'd be pretty 100% sure this is power metal, or if not power metal, like maybe like a heavy speed metal, but it's in that vein. It's definitely in that region of where you will not be surprised by what you hear. So I dig it on both fronts. I give it an A plus as far as the aesthetics go, and as far as properly conveying the music contained within. So yeah, I dig it. Really, really cool cover. Love the art. Solid stuff there. Now for the album itself, this bad boy's got 10 tracks on there. It comes in at about 45 minutes. So yeah, right there about in that sweet spot for me. Y'all know I like it when there's, 10 or so songs, 45 to 50 minutes. I just find that's kind of like the safe, it's a safe bet there. Of course, I've really enjoyed albums that are a lot longer, and I've really enjoyed albums that are shorter. But when you hit in that 45 to 50-minute range, around 10 tracks, give or take one or two, eh, yeah, I just that's great. Usually that means there's no filler or anything like that. There still could be, but in this case, there really isn't. There really isn't. Everything it moves along at a good pace. Everything feels pretty deliberate, and yeah, it's a good runtime. At no point was I ever sitting there like, oh man, this album's kind of dragging on, or oh wow, this just ended super abrupt. It feels right. As far as the amount of songs and the length of the album and the flow, it feels right. So cool stuff there. As far as the sound that you're gonna get is, this is no frills, kind of melodic power metal, with a feeling, harkening back a bit to kind of the 2000s power metal era, with some modern elements thrown in, and some just of their own personality thrown in as well. But that's the main sound you're gonna get. Like I said, no frills, just some nice melodic power metal. Tends to be a little bit on like the speedy side, the driven side, but a lot of keyboard work, and just nice melodies. It's not too just you know heavy. Just driving through, but good tempo. Up, somewhat up tempo, and again, a focus on melodies and just power. So yeah, that's really what you get sound wise. Now, for me, the real highlight, the star of the show, if you will, is the keyboards. Man, the keyboards in this album are just amazing, amazing. I was just floored, by the keyboard melodies, like the riffs or the patterns, the solos, and even the tones you use. There's different tones used. Sometimes almost sounds like like a synth organ kind of deal going. And I mean, the keyboard work here is just phenomenal. I mean, there's moments where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, wow, this keyboard melody is amazing, or it really adds a lot to the songs, really adds a nice flavor, a nice energy, a nice just extra layer to the sound. And that's part of what I think kind of creates somewhat of a unique sound. Again, this album, it doesn't break the mold. It's not setting the world on fire here. It's not reinventing the wheel. But there are definite things in here that still add, a personality or a characteristic, a unique characteristic of the band, to still set it apart from, other melodic kind of power metal, with a similar sort of sound. And a large part of that, I think, comes from the keyboard. It is just done so well, and it's just excellent keyboard in here. It's worth the price of admission for the keyboards alone. But luckily, it doesn't just stop there. The guitar work is done really well. A lot of times I feel like the guitar even is support for the keyboard. But then there's some songs where the guitar takes the lead. But in a lot of instances, I feel like the guitar is almost playing second fiddle to the keyboard, and providing the backing riffs, and the backing momentum, where the keyboard is adding that flavor, like the real melody up in the forefront. But yeah, the guitar work's done really well. Nice speedy riffs at times, and just it does a really good job of having kind of that bass layer of sound, where the keyboard kind of takes you on the journey. The guitar is almost like the I don't know, the carriage, or the automobile that's providing you the transportation for the journey, so to speak, so the journey can take place. But yeah, really, really great guitar work. Again, really great, supporting the keyboard, and then also really great when the guitar takes the forefront. There's some good riffs and melodies in there with the guitar as well. The bass gets the chance to shine quite a bit also, which I really, really enjoyed. And if any of y'all saw my reaction to their song Freedom, y'all already know that the bass is really solid, and it gets a chance to be highlighted at times, and I always enjoy that. And the drum work is really solid too. I had no issues with the drums. Really great job keeping up the pace, keeping up the rhythm, the momentum for the songs. And there's some good fills thrown in here and there. And yeah, just the musicianship is really, really solid. And they clearly knew exactly what they were going for, and they executed it really, really well. And the vocals are also really great. He's got a really good range, and the ability to really capture, like, the melodies, and in the chorus, really deliver the lines in a way that's infectious and catchy, makes you kind of want to sing along, or just really takes you with it. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like another analogy having to do with like a carriage or whatnot. Whereas like the carriage is the guitars, and the bass and the drums. I guess the guy driving the carriage is the vocals, and just the path, the journey itself that you go on is like the keyboard. I don't know. It probably makes no sense, but that's just what I come up with here. So, but yeah, the vocals are really solid as well. And again, great range, great delivery, and does a great job of delivering the vocal melodies in a way that engage the listener, and really hold your hand as you go through the album. So solid stuff, all around, musically and vocally. Again, you're getting just straight up powerful melodic power metal here with solid melodies, catchy choruses, moments that feel epic without like big orchestrations or anything, but they feel epic because just the direction the music and the vocals take. Sometimes you're rising and soaring, and it's landing really nice, and it just feels epic, and then taper back down a bit and then rise back up, and it just creates these awesome moments that again just really engage the listener and keep you interested in what's going on. But yeah, it starts out really, really well with Into the Light. It's a good opening track that just starts out, running right out of the gate, introduces you to the killer keyboard, and just the main kind of sound that you'll get for the most part throughout the whole album, and it pulls you in right off the bat. So it's a great opening track, pulls you in right off the bat, and then track two, Illuminate, keeps that momentum going really well, and then track three, Eternal, which is one of my favorite songs. I also love Illuminate. There's several songs on here I really, really, really liked, but Eternal is one of my favorites. This has just a really nice anthemic, almost kind of feel or vibe, and this is one of those that I kind of builds up to these kind of grand or epic hitting chorus moments, and the music is really, really great. And yeah, it's just one of those that I just feel myself just really getting into. I love it. Again, the keyboards just going crazy and just providing some amazing melodies and sounds, and it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Against the Storm, track four is really solid. And track five, The Chance, is another one of my favorites. And what's cool about this one is it almost has like an ABBA kind of feel to it, with the keyboard melody, and even just the melody of the vocals and in the chorus. That there's a hint of ABBA in there, but still being Tragedian. So it's really cool because it's not like they just went full ABBA. It's like there's hints of kind of that pop element in there, like the ABBA style, but it's still Tragedian, So it's I really enjoyed that song. It just has a great feel, a great mood, a great vibe. Again, awesome keyboard, awesome melodies, and whatnot. So I loved from start to finish tracks one through five. The first half of the album, it just keeps going. It's strong, 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 and I was like, man, they're really keeping this up, and it just really awesome. The back half, starting with track six, is a little bit more of a mixed bag for me. So I'll say tracks one through five, stunning, just awesome. I loved it. Just kept going. I was like, man, this is killer. But tracks 6 through 10, again, it, I enjoyed the full album, but it's a little bit more of a mixed bag toward the second half of the album. Starting with track six, in my personal opinion, is the weakest song on the album. It just feels like it loses a little bit of momentum here. It feels like it loses a little bit of the spark that made the first half of the album so enjoyable and so, it catches your attention. It's a little bit more guitar focused. The keyboard kind of takes a back seat, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the song itself. It just feels like the wind is kind of taken out of your sails just a little bit. It just doesn't rise up, in my opinion, to any of the songs in the first half, and it's a little bit of a speed bump. It's a little bit like I said, just kind of feels like it takes the momentum out of the album just a little bit. But track seven picks things up again a bit with Exodo, and this song is really cool. It's done in Spanish, and there's like some acoustic guitar thrown in, so you get a little bit of something different in here again, and it catches your attention again. So you hit a little speed bump, but then you're kind of pulled back in, and it's a cool song, a unique well done song. Um, Emotions it isn't bad. And then you get track 9 Freedom, which was released as a single, which is a really cool dynamic track. There's a lot of neat stuff going on there. Check out my reaction if you haven't already. And then the second thing that kind of makes the back half a little of a mixed bag for me is track 10 Obscured Dreams. The first track and the final track of an album are super duper important, and of course everything in between is really important as well. But keeping the first track, needs to really pull you into the album, which they do really well here with Into the Light. But the final song, Obscured Dreams, the final track needs to leave the listener feeling satisfied. It needs to send out the album in a nice, fitting way that kind of it serves as a nice end cap to really round out the album so that it feels like it's done. It feels like the album has just kind of almost come full circle, or just send you out feeling like cool. This was the end. Just ends really great and just leaves the listener feeling, man, that was great. Great album that feels like it's over, and it ended appropriately, and or ended with a bang. Because sometimes it's really bombastic, other times it's more mellow. But whatever direction it's taking, it just needs to really send the album out on a high note, and just make you be like, wow, solid stuff, and make you want to go right back in. This song, it feels like it kind of goes out on a whimper. The album, I feel like it doesn't really grab you. It just is kind of there, and it sounds nice, and but as far as ending the album, it just feels like it's open. It kind of almost leaves the album feel like it's open ended. It like it's over, but it doesn't feel like it should be over, and yeah, that's just kind of how I felt with the song. It just didn't pack any punch, whether it be again on the really powerful epic side, or on the more mellow side, kind of drifting out the album. It is more of a mellow song. It's a little slower, but it just doesn't quite have that feeling. It just it just doesn't land right for me. And again, it just almost feels like the album goes out with a whimper on this song, and it left me feeling um, just I can't think of the right word that I'm looking for, but it ended, and I just didn't feel like I was satisfied with the end of the album, especially how strong a lot of the album was, and it just kind of almost leaves you hanging. Just kind of just it's there, and it's over, and that's what you're left with. But so really, there's only a couple songs on here that I felt just lost that special touch, that the band had on the rest of the album. But other than that, they clearly set out to just do some nice, hard hitting, melodic power metal in somewhat of a classic, kind of 2000s way, but also with some modern elements, and throw in some of their own personality. And they pulled it off really, really well. It is a very enjoyable album. I had a lot of fun listening to it multiple times. And, a lot of folks I think are going to be really happy with it, because there's something to be said for the kind of more straightforward approach that they have taken here, which is trying to deliver some solid power metal with great melodies and great chorus and all of that. And for the most part, it works out really, really well. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to say anything bad about it if you love power metal, because it just it's fun to listen to, and it feels familiar in a way of, anyone who's listened to power metal for a while. It feels familiar, and it feels like a safe space, listening to the album. And again, they pull off what they were trying to do here really, really well. Just, you know, waivers in a couple spots, but again, for the most part, solid. I definitely recommend the album for any power metal fans. There's a lot to enjoy here. It's a lot of fun. That keyboard is sick. Everything else is really great as well. But yeah, there's some really standout songs. And yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun, fun. It's a fun listen and quite enjoyable. So I really like what the folks over at Tragedian have done here with this album, and had a good time with it. And I know I always tell y'all, if I had to pick one song to recommend, if someone says, "Oh, I'm just gonna want to hear one song to determine if I want to listen to the whole album or not," what song would I recommend? It's hard to say. The song that's released as a single as of me making this video, Freedom, is really, really solid. But I would probably go with something that has a little bit more of like the keyboard influenced kind of thing. So maybe either like track two, Illuminate, or track three, Eternal. I would say, maybe go with one of those, Illuminate or Eternal, to get a true feeling of what the whole album is kind of like. But again, keep in mind, they change things up a little bit here and there, which is nice. Keeps things feeling fresh. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Again, this bad boy new album comes out March 24th. It's called Master of Illusions. Let me know, everybody, if you've been longtime fans of Tragedian. Are you excited for the album? Make sure you come back here once you've listened to the album. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to talk about it in the comments down below. And that's what I got to say about that. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Ranger, out.